Hello, dear DSC candidates. Welcome back to my Grammar for Success channel. I'm Koresh Babu, a retired lecturer in English from Hyderabad. In today's video, I'm going to teach you yet another very interesting and important story, The Bet, written by Anton Chekhov, a great Russian writer. Okay, and I therefore request all of you to pay a very good attention to this story till the end without skipping it in the middle. I also request all of you to consider subscribing to my channel and also sharing this video with all your friends who are also going to take the DSC examination along with you very shortly. Thank you so much. Now let's get into the video. The Bet, written by Anton Chekhov. This is yet another very important and interesting short story, and this is the last short story prescribed for you for study. Okay, before I teach you this, I would like to tell you a few very important things about this Anton Chekhov. Okay, please pay a very good attention to this. Key points about Anton Chekhov. What are the very important points about Anton Chekhov? Let us learn all of them very quickly. Right here, Anton Chekhov was born on January 29, 1860 in Taganrog. Remember, you see the pronunciation of this place, Taganrog. You cannot say Rog, but Rokka. So in Russia, there is a place called Taganrog. In Taganrog, on January 29, 1860, he was born. Okay, he was a celebrated Russian playwright. So celebrated means a well-known Russian playwright. Playwright means one who writes dramas. Plays is called a playwright, and a short story writer. He was also a well-known short story writer. Yes, very simple points these are all. And he is also regarded as one of the greatest short story writers and dramatists in the world. So this Anton Chekhov was regarded or considered as one of the greatest short story writers as well as one of the greatest dramatists of this world. So that is the greatness of this Anton Chekhov. He was widely known for or famous for, what is that? His contribution to modern literature. That means, he contributed very richly to the modern English literature. And for that, he is very well known. Okay, right. His works are celebrated for. Celebrated for means well known for or noted for what? Their subtle portrayal of human nature. Subtle means very delicate. Okay, in other words, very delicate portrayal. Portrayal means description of what? Of human nature. People will have different natures. Somebody may have some kind nature. Somebody may have some generous nature. Somebody may have some cruel nature, rigid nature, miserly nature. Varieties of natures people will have in their life. So here, Anton Chekhov is known for delicate portrayal of human nature and also their innovative. So these works are also known for innovative approach to drama and narrative. So in all his works, what happened? He has employed some innovative approaches, and that's why his dramas and his short stories will be very interesting to the readers. Chekhov is often associated with naturalism. So he is very much associated with this naturalism. What is this naturalism? It is a literary movement according to which the depiction of life must be scientifically accurate. That means, there should not be any kind of deviation from the description of human life. Okay, whatever is there in human life, that should be depicted or described accurately, scientifically accurately. So that is the point. That is what this literary movement emphasizes. That is the point. And you go to the next one. His short story collections include the Steppe, Complaint Books, and Bishop. Okay, so these three are his short story collections. And one more important point about these short stories is these short stories explore. Explore means examine what? Complexities of human emotions. So you can find complexities. Okay, say tough features. Tough features are called complexities. So you can find so many tough features. Okay, let me write here to make you understand. Tough means very hard. Features, okay, you know very well, qualities or anything. Though these tough features are called complexities of human emotions. So human emotions will have tough features. So all his short stories explore these things. And his short stories also deal with societal issues. Okay, societal issues. How? With the subtlety, with the delicacy, and also with the depth. So he deals with the societal issues and he also deals with the complexities of human emotions. All these things you can find in all his short short stories. So that is the greatness of this Anton Chekhov. Chekhov's plays are considered masterpieces of modern theatre. So all his short stories or dramas, plays means dramas, are considered what? They are the masterpieces. Masterpieces means classics, in other words you can say. Excellent works are called masterpieces. So they are the masterpieces of modern theatre, right? And you go to the next point about him. Major works include, and his major works, what are his major works? Let us look at all of them. The Seagull, it was written in 1896. It is a play, these are all plays only. Plays, in other words, dramas, okay, right. And a play that explores the themes of unrequited love and artistic ambition. Unrequited love means unresponded love. Love not responded from that person, okay, that's called unrequited love, means unresponded love. So this play deals with that, and also it deals with artistic ambition of becoming an artist. This ambition pertains to artistic ambition, right? And you go to the next one, Uncle Vanya, 1897 it was written and published, and a drama about disillusionment and the struggle for meaning of life. And most of the people try to find meaning for their life, why they were born into this world, and why they are living, and why they are going to die. So all people want to find out the meaning for their living or for their life. So here a drama about disillusionment. Disillusionment means what? Having lost faith is called disillusionment. Once upon a time you felt it was so good and worthwhile and all that, but you have lost faith in that. That's why it's called disillusionment. A drama about disillusionment and also the struggle for meaning life. So these two things are explored or conveyed through this drama, that is Uncle Vanya, written in 1897. And you go to the next one, Three Sisters are there, written in 1901 and published in 1901. It is a play centered on the lives and aspirations of three sisters. So this is a beautiful play focusing on the lives and also the aspirations, the ambitions, the wishes of three sisters, okay. So that is the play that deals with these things, okay. In this way, first one, second one, third one, and I think there is one more for you, The Cherry Orchard. The Cherry Orchard, it was published in 1904, and Chekhov's final play, okay. This is the Chekhov's final play, and which deals with the themes of social change and the passing of time. So it deals with the social change and the passing of time, okay. So these two things, with these two things, this play deals with, and it was his last play, and in the same year, very well, he passed away, that very well. So in this way, the Seagull, Uncle Vanya, Three Sisters, the Cherry Orchard, these are all the major works of this Anton Chekhov, right? His works reflect complexities of everyday life. So his works, what do? They reflect, they deal with, reflect means they deal with what? The complexities. I have already told you about these complexities, tough features, okay. Tough features of what? Tough features of everyday life, okay. They all deal with the tough features of everyday life. You have to face so many tough things in your everyday life. So his works deal with these tough features of everyday life, and also the intricacies of human behavior. Intricacies means complicatedness or complication, okay. The complication or complicatedness. What is that? The complicatedness. Okay, human behavior is full of complications and is also full of what? Complicatedness. So this about this human behavior, which is full of complications or complicatedness, about these two things his works deal with, okay. And that's why his plays are very interesting and his short stories are also very, very interesting. Chekhov's work has a profound influence on modern literature and theatre. So on modern literature and theatre, his works had thrown a profound influence. A profound means a very deep impact. All his works have shown a deep impact, a powerful impact on modern literature as well as modern theatre. And here you go to the next point about him, his innovative techniques in narrative and narrative structure. So he has employed all innovative techniques. Innovative means new, latest techniques, okay, in narrative structure and character development, okay. In narrative structure and character development, he has adopted innovative techniques. And these things, these innovative techniques have inspired countless writers and playwrights, because he has employed in his works innovative techniques to deal with the narrative structure and character development. So these innovative techniques in these two things have inspired countless writers and playwrights of the next generation and so on. So that is there. Even today, his works continue to be studied all over the world. Even today, his works are being studied all over the world, and they are also performed because they are all dramas, they are all plays. So they are being enacted on the stage. Okay, even today, all over the world, globally, people are studying his stories and dramas, and these dramas are also being enacted or performed on various stages across the globe. So that is all about this great writer, Anton Chekhov. And now let's move on to learn a few very interesting things about the story. Key points about the story. What are the key points about the story? Let us learn them very quickly. Anton Chekhov's The Bet is a thought-provoking story. Okay, it's a thought-provoking story. It's a powerful story. It's a meaningful story, and that deals with a clash. Okay, in this Bet, you find a big clash between what? Between material wealth. Material wealth means worldly riches. What are the worldly riches? Yes, money, gold, silver, precious metals and lands, orchards, whatnot. This is all called material wealth or worldly riches. So material wealth on one side, and the intellectual or spiritual fulfillment on the other side. Intellectual fulfillment. Okay, one must become filled with intellectuality. One must gain a lot of knowledge, and he must become full. So that is called intellectual fulfillment. If you read books voraciously, you get a lot of knowledge. You then feel that is the intellectual fulfillment, okay, or spiritual fulfillment. So between these two things, between the material wealth and intellectual fulfillment, there is a big clash. What is that clash? We are going to learn in the story very shortly. Okay, and here the story invites the readers to reflect. Okay, you have to reflect on, you have to think about what the nature of freedom. What kind of freedom should we have? 100% freedom, or half freedom, or partial freedom, or what is that? So the nature of freedom, all the readers must reflect on the nature of freedom, the impact of wealth. What is the impact of wealth on man's life? So that's very important. If you have more money, your behavior will be something different. If you have moderate money with you, your behavior will be somewhat different. If you don't have money, your behavior will be somewhat different. So here, what impact is this wealth showing on you or throwing on you? That is very important. And the search for meaning in life. So here in the story is inviting all its readers, all of you, to think about the nature of freedom, the impact of wealth, the influence of wealth, the power of wealth, or the search for meaning in life. So about these three things, the story is requesting all of you to think about. Okay, and here you pay attention. The story questions whether life in confinement is worth more than death. So here in this story there is a question whether life in confinement means in prison, life in jail, life in custody, whatever it is. So life in confinement is worth more than death. Is it worth more than death? Suppose you are put in some confinement, that means prison. Do you think that confinement is more than death for you? Yes, confinement is really more than death. Because if your freedom is curtailed, what happens? You feel very much depressed. Now that is the major punishment the governments can give to the erring people or the people who are at fault. Many people, they are kept in jail. Why? Because if their personal freedom is removed, what happens? They feel very much depressed. They feel physically very much depressed, mentally depressed. They become weak. Okay, that is the greatest punishment the government can inflict on the people of its country. Because this confinement, that means putting in jail, putting in prison, that is worth more than death. It is more than death. You are being put in jail means you are being dead to this world. So it is really very depressing. It's more than death. Even death is better than being put in confinement. In this story, it tells you about the value of freedom. It also tells you about the value of money and all that. So this is the very important point. Okay, right. And we are going to learn about this in the story very shortly. Okay. It examines how the pursuit of wealth and the desire to prove oneself can lead to a deep transformation and introspection. So here, the pursuit of wealth. So you are pursuing wealth means you are after wealth. You want wealth. Okay. People are nowadays hankering after money. Hankering after means pursuing money. They want only money. So this pursuit of wealth and the desire to prove oneself. And because of these two things, the person, the character in this story will get deep transformation, deep change in him, and also introspection, self-examination. These two things have brought about in that particular person of the story deep transformation and introspection. So that's why that's point we are going to learn in the story. The story is set in the late 19th century. So the setting of the story is the late 19th century. And here Chekhov's narrative style is straightforward and profound. Straightforward means the style of narrating the story is very straightforward, direct, and it is also very profound. Profound, in other words, we can say very powerful, right? And here you see the story is divided into 5 sections, the story divided into small 5 sections, and each representing a significant phase in the Bet and the lawyer's confinement. Now each tells us about the progress of this lawyer who is put in confinement. So in this way, these are the very important points about this story. So keep these points in our mind. And now we are going to learn about the characters of this story, and next about the story itself, and afterwards literary devices, then a small test. So these are the 4 things that are coming now one after another. Okay, right, please wait for all of them. Now let's move on to learn about the characters of this story. Okay, characters are there. What are the characters here? The banker is there. This is one character, and this banker means one who works in a bank. He is a symbol of wealth. He represents wealth and materialism. So material wealth, materialism and all that. And his character evolves from confident and arrogant to anxious and remorseful. At the beginning, he looks to be confident and arrogant, and later on, as the story progresses, he becomes more anxious and more remorseful. Remorseful means more repentant. How and why we are going to see in the story. So that is all about this first character. And you have one more character in this story, that is the lawyer. Lawyer everybody knows, and embodies intellectual curiosity, and he represents what? Intellectual curiosity and endurance, and he has got that capacity to endure. He has endurance, means in other words patience. His character evolves from idealistic and ambitious to introspective and disillusioned. So here at the beginning, this lawyer looks to be idealistic. Okay, he looks to be somewhat ideal and all that. So in that ideal, okay, and he also looks to be somewhat ambitious, somewhat greedy for money and wealth and all that. So that was the nature of this lawyer at the beginning. But later on, as that story progresses, he becomes introspective. He keeps on examining himself. How he has changed from this person to this. How he has been once upon a time, now how he is. No, it is called introspection, self-examination. He becomes more introspective and disillusioned, losing faith in something which the person has valued it more once upon a time. Earlier he valued that more, but now he has lost faith in that. So that is called getting disillusioned. So here this liar, one at the beginning looks to be idealistic and ambitious, but later on he becomes introspective and disillusioned. And all these things I will tell you in the story. First of all, let us move on to learn the story. The story of the bet in a nutshell. Okay, in a nutshell means very briefly this story is given here. And what is the story? The Bet by Anton Chekhov is a short story. Okay, it's a very short story, and it explores or examines or delves into the nature of human life. So it tells us about the human behavior, human life and all that, and it also tells you about the greed of man. Man is very greedy. He wants everything. Okay, he wants this, he wants that. Only greed. If you have greed, what happens? You don't want others to come in your way. You want everything for yourself. You think that you should be safe, and your wife should be safe, your family should be safe, you only should be safe and happy and all that. All others should go to dogs. So that will be the net result of being greedy. So we should not have greed in our mind, durasha. If you have that durasha, it will lead you to so many problems. Okay, and the pursuit of knowledge. Another point conveyed in this story is the pursuit of knowledge. One should pursue knowledge by reading various books. Okay, you should read books voraciously, and whenever you read various books, what happens? You can gain a lot of knowledge, and that is very important. Gaining knowledge is very important. Okay, Yes, that's when reading makes a full man. Francis Bacon says, reading makes a full man. Full man means a knowledgeable person. You know everything. And here, these three things are explained in this story, The Bet. So what is that? It explores the nature of human life, the human greed, okay, and also the pursuit of knowledge. So these three things are explained in this story, The Bet. The story centers around a wager between a wealthy banker and a young lawyer. So here there are two characters in this story. This is a wealthy banker. Okay. One who owns a bank is a banker, a rich man, a wealthy man. And here you pay attention, and here another person is also there. Who is that person? Young lawyer is there. Young lawyer. So there is a wager. Wager means what? Wager means, in other words, bet. Okay, bet you know very well. Nowadays you hear much about cricket betting and various things. You know, people started betting nowadays because they want to get more money. Within no time they want to get more money, and without working hard and without using their efforts and all that. So that kind of nature is very bad. Okay, because if you are greedy, you start feeling like that. Okay, that's very bad. So here between this banker and a young lawyer, there is a wager. Wager means there is a bet. Okay, that this whole story centers around this wager. What is that wager? Let us see that here. The story begins at a party. You know very well. The story begins at a party in a hotel, and where the banker and the lawyer engage in a heated debate. So in that party, this banker and this lawyer meet, and perhaps they may be friends. They have sat at a table drinking or something, and between these two there has occurred a heated debate, a heated discussion, a heated argument. What is that about? Whether the death penalty is more merciful. Whether the death penalty means capital punishment. Capital punishment means hanging to death. So that is called death penalty, is more merciful than life imprisonment. So whether this death penalty is more merciful than life imprisonment. Life imprisonment means keeping one person in jail for lifelong, for his lifelong. So whether this life imprisonment is worse than this death. Yes, this life imprisonment అంటే జీవిత ఖైదు కంటే మరణశిక్ష అనేది మంచిదేనా? అవును, జీవిత ఖైదు కంటే మరణశిక్షనే మేలు. జీవిత శిక్షలో ఎంత దుర్భరమైన జీవితం. నో ఫ్రీడమ్. ఏ లైఫ్ వితౌట్ ఫ్రీడమ్ ఈజ్ రియలీ ఎ మియర్ వేస్ట్. స్వేచ్ఛ లేని జీవితము సావుతో సమానం కదా. కాబట్టి యూ కెనాట్ డూ ఎనీథింగ్. యూ హ్యావ్ టు మూవ్ ఇన్ దట్ సెల్ ఓన్లీ. యూ హ్యావ్ టు లివ్ ఇన్ దట్ jail only. How long will you live in that jail? And life imprisonment, lifelong you have to live in that jail means, really that is really very, very painful to hear about, isn't it? So that's why there is a heated debate between these two persons about whether the death penalty is more merciful than life imprisonment. జీవిత ఖైదు కంటే మరి ఈ డెత్ పెనాల్టీ మరణ శిక్ష మరి మేలుకరం, చాలా మేలుకరమైనది. That is the topic. And here, who is supporting this death penalty and who is supporting this life imprisonment? Let us see that here. Okay. About this topic, there was a heated argument, right? And while the banker argues that execution is more merciful, and he says, execution, that means, putting one to death is called execution, is more merciful. Okay. And the lawyer contends that life, even in confinement, is better than death. Jailo na jeevinchi unte, it is better than death. That is what the lawyer says. And the banker says this execution is preferable to this life imprisonment. అంటే లైఫ్ ఇంప్రిజన్మెంట్ కంటే మరణ శిక్షనే కోరదగింది అని ఈ బ్యాంకర్ అంటూ ఉంటే, ఈ లాయర్ అంటున్నాడు మరి మరణ శిక్ష కంటే లైఫ్ ఇంప్రిజన్మెంటే కోరదగింది. అంటే హీ ఈస్ స్టాండింగ్ ఆన్ బిహాఫ్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ లైఫ్ ఇంప్రిజన్మెంట్. హీ ఈస్ స్టాండింగ్ ఆన్ ద సైడ్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ డెత్ పెనాల్టీ. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద స్టోరీ. And the banker wagers or bets. Wagers means bets what? With the lawyer. Okay. Immediately this banker is a moneyed person, wealthy person, rich person. At once he has bet with the lawyer or wagered with the lawyer. Promises him to pay 2 million rubles. What is the net amount of that bet? That is 2 million rubles Okay, rubles is the Russian currency, you know that very well. If at all the lawyer agrees to spend 15 years in solitary confinement, because life imprisonment means life in jail for 15 years is called life imprisonment, and therefore this banker has asked this lawyer, if at all he happens to spend his 15 years of life in solitary confinement, that because he has not committed any crime, therefore let us not call it a life imprisonment. So here this banker has asked this lawyer to spend 15 years in solitary confinement. If at all the lawyer agrees to do that, he is ready to pay 2 million rubles. That is the bet. Confinement means, he should be confined only to 4 walls of the house, that's all. He should not go out. He should not move here and there. He should be, all facilities are provided in that house only, and you have to live only in that house without going out. So your freedom is restricted only to that house or restricted to that room. So within that room only you should live for 15 years. If at all the lawyer agrees to live like that, and the banker says he is ready to pay him 2 million rubles. So that is the betting. Okay, right. And now what happened? Let us say, to prove his point, to prove that life imprisonment is preferable to death, to prove that point, what happened? The lawyer accepts the bet. The lawyer accepts that bet and decides to spend 15 years in solitary confinement in exchange for the money. Just for the sake of that 2 million rubles, now he has agreed to that bet, and he has decided to spend 15 years of time in a small cabin or in a small room, okay, with all facilities provided in that room. Okay, that's there. And he is placed in a small, well-equipped lodge on the banker's estate. So on the banker's estate, banker is a very rich man, he has a big estate. On that estate there is a small room, so in that room, well equipped means with all furniture, with all comforts and all those things. Okay, and there's a small lodge, there's a small room that is located on the banker's estate where he can have books, music and other comforts, but cannot leave. This is very important. In that room he can have books, okay, you can read books, therefore books are kept, music he can listen to music and other comforts, but cannot leave. But he should not leave that room. Over the years, okay, and after that 1 year passed by, 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, okay, many years have passed by. The lawyer undergoes significant changes in the solitary confinement. So having been put in this solitary confinement, what happened? This lawyer undergoes significant changes. He undergoes significant changes. That means, important changes will come in his personality, right? And initially, he is optimistic and makes elaborate plans for his future. Initially, that means in the first few days of his being kept in that lodge, he was optimistic. He was hopeful and makes elaborate plans for his future, because so after the completion of 15 years he is going to get a huge amount. With that huge amount he wants to buy one estate outside and he can live a very lavish and happy joyful life and all that. So he had some bright plans about his future after the completion of these 15 years of time in the solitary confinement. In this way he was optimistic at the beginning. Now what happened? As the time passes, that means as the time passes by, first year was over, 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, 9 years, 10 years, 12 years. So as the time passes by, he immerses himself in reading and learning. So because there are so many books kept in that small room, so he started reading all those books, okay, books on philosophy, books on literature. So all kinds of books were available in that room, and he started reading all of them, and he started reading and learning many things and expanding his knowledge across various fields, because various kinds of books are there. They don't belong to only one category. Like for example, they don't belong only to literature. They belong to science, they belong to mathematics, they belong to philosophy, they belong to various subjects on the earth. So that's why what happened, because he cannot go out, and therefore what did he do? He started reading all those books, and he has gained the knowledge of all those books. The banker becomes increasingly anxious about the possibility of losing the bet as the 15-year period approaches. See, you look at the banker's position here. So this banker thought that this lawyer could not complete his 15 years of solitary confinement. He would definitely fail in his attempt. So he was in that way thinking. But on the other side, what happened? The lawyer started living 1 year after another year in that solitary confinement. He was about to complete that 15 years of period now. After the completion of 15 years, what happens? This banker has to give him 2 million rubles. It's a very big money and it's a huge amount. Okay, and here this banker becomes increasingly anxious. He was very much worried because there is a possibility of losing the bet. He felt he was very much worried. And now what happened? Because he was on the verge of losing the bet as the 15-year period is fast approaching. In a week or two, what is going to happen? That 15 years period is coming to an end. The agreement between this banker and the lawyer is coming to an end, and this banker has to pay him 2 million rubles. You know that very well. And that's why this banker becomes increasingly anxious and he is worried about his financial situation. And he might have thought that this may not become possible with the lawyer, and that's why he betted with him. The lawyer was a stubborn fellow. He was very stubborn in his decision, and he completed almost all the 15 years of solitary confinement. Okay, and he is worried about his financial situation. Now he is very much worried about his financial situation and the possibility of the lawyer winning the wager, and he felt sure that the lawyer is going to win the bet, and he has to pay him 2 million rubles and all that. So he was very much worried. That is the status of this banker. And now what happened? Let us see that on the eve of the 15-year mark. So on the eve means on the day before the completion of this 15 years of time. Okay, so tomorrow it is coming to an end. But before, one day before, that is called always eve. So on the eve of 15-year mark, that means just before that day, what happened? The banker, desperate and fearing the loss of his fortune. And the banker has become very much desperate. He was very much worried about his money, and he thought he was going to lose his fortune. 2 million rubles means it's a huge amount, it's a big amount. He's going to lose that much amount. And now what happened? Plans to kill the lawyer to avoid paying the bet. And he has devised a dirty plan, a criminal plan, and according to which he has planned to kill the lawyer to avoid paying the bet, because he fears the loss of his fortune. He has become desperate and very much worried. And now you go to the last point. Okay, he sneaks into the lawyer's quarters. Okay, sneaks means enters somebody's room stealthily. He sneaks into the lawyer's quarter or room, but finds the lawyer reading and writing a letter. So that lawyer was writing some letter. And now what? The lawyer reveals that he has grown disillusioned with material wealth and the external world. And on seeing that banker, one day before the completion of that 15-year period, that banker has come there, and seeing that banker, this lawyer said, okay, Mr. Banker, I have grown disillusioned with material wealth. I have become mesmerized. I have become mad with this worldly wealth and all that, this material wealth and the external world. I have become very much mad about this external world and this material wealth and all that. And now in that way, I have become very much disillusioned. That means I have lost faith in this external world. I have lost faith in this material wealth and all that. Okay. And he has decided to forfeit the bet voluntarily. He has also told him clearly, I am going to forfeit this bet voluntarily. I am going to lose this bet. Even if I complete 15 years of solitary confinement here, I am not going to take any money from you, because this material wealth is just temporary. It's just meaningless. I don't find any meaning in this, in taking money and all that, he has told him. And he says, I have decided to forfeit, that means lose the bet voluntarily, renouncing the 2 million rubles just before the final moment. Just before the final day, he loses that bet and he renounces that bet amount to 2 million rubles. Okay, that is the story. And now you move on to the concluding part of the story. The banker is relieved. Okay. He has become very much relieved. Now he is very happy internally. because he has said no to the money that the banker is supposed to give him or supposed to pay him. Okay, the banker is relieved, but also reflects on the futility of wager and the nature of human ambition. And here what is that? This banker thinks about what? The futility of the wager. Futility means the uselessness of this wager, this betting, and the nature of human ambition. And the lawyer leaves the confinement with a changed perspective. And the lawyer, after 15 years of time is over, he leaves that solitary confinement with a changed perspective. He has become very much changed. Okay, he has become very much changed. And earlier he wanted that money. Just for the sake of that money, he spent 15 years in a solitary confinement. Now he has become totally changed. He doesn't want money. He doesn't want this worldly wealth, and he doesn't like this external world. He lost faith in this external world and in this material wealth and all that. And he leaves that solitary confinement with a changed perspective, changed mind, changed point of view and all that. And having spent 15 years in isolation, but rejecting the prize he originally sought. Actually, he sought that big prize amount, but now he rejected that prize amount, and he spent 15 years in isolation. Two things, he spent 15 years in isolation, in solitary confinement, and he rejected that prize money also, that bet money also, right? And here you see that in the end the story highlights the futility of the wager. There is no meaning in betting the things like this. There is no meaning in betting like this. So there is futility, uselessness. Okay, uselessness. Is there any use in this wager? Is there any meaning in this betting? Is there any use in this betting? No. So there is uselessness of the wager and the triviality of human ambition. So man's ambition is trivial. The lawyer looked at 2 million rubles, okay, with so much of importance and all that. But at the end, he thought this is all meaningless. That means the triviality of human ambition. So the human ambition is very trivial. You know very well, Alexander the Great wanted to conquer the whole world. And here what happened at last, he realized the truth, and he thought, I may be called the conqueror of this world, but I am not carrying anything from this world, because these are a mere waste. That is the truth he has realized at Babylonia, when he was about to die, leaving everything behind him. He had nothing to eat, nothing to drink. You know very well. Just before his death, he asked his disciples to bury him, raising his hands above the tomb. So his disciples buried him like that only. That means, I have come with empty hands into this world, and I am going back with empty hands. Nothing of this world will come with us. Utta chetiltanu veltunanu. Ee dokam nunchi mana em teeskelaleemu. That moral he could convey to the people of this world. Nowadays, one country is invading upon another country. So many things are taking place. What do you do with all these things? One day or the other, you have to leave this world. You have to leave everything here. You cannot carry anything from this world. So that truth, when you realize you don't want anything in this world. So here this banker felt that his betting was just futile, just useless. And this lawyer felt that his ambition was trivial, unimportant and meaningless, like that. And leaving both characters disillusioned. And here the banker as well as the lawyer, both are disillusioned. They had some feeling, some respect or some faith in something, but they lost that respect. This banker thought he would win the wager. He was disillusioned. And this lawyer thought he would get a huge amount after the bet is over, after the completion of that betting. Okay, that period is over. So, but here he is also disillusioned and changed by their experiences. So these experiences have served them change considerably. You know that very well. So here the banker has changed, thinking that his betting is meaningless, and this lawyer has changed, thinking his ambition is trivial, and therefore that's all meaningless and all that. So both of them have become disillusioned, both of them have changed considerably. So that is the end of the story. So this is the story of this Anton Chekhov, very small and simple story. You go to the moral of this story. What is that? This story suggests that true wisdom and fulfillment come from introspection, and you know very well, only through introspection means through self-examination only you can get wisdom and fulfillment. Okay, by reading voraciously, you can get a lot of wisdom, lot of fulfillment and all that, intellectual growth, spiritual understanding, rather than from the pursuit of wealth and power. So this is the moral. If you pursue power, if you pursue wealth, they don't give you anything. Power is temporary, wealth is temporary, but knowledge is permanent. Okay, you may lose the power after some time. You may lose your money, but nobody can steal this knowledge that you have gained by reading various things. So this is permanent, and here that intellectual growth, the spiritual understanding, they are more important than the pursuit of wealth and power. So pursuit of wealth is meaningless, pursuit of power is also meaningless, and this intellectual growth is very important. Gaining knowledge is important. Okay, that's more important. That is the message Anton Chekhov conveys through this small story. And now let's move on to learn about the literary devices employed in this story, and after that let us do some exercise. Okay, literary devices employed in the story The Bet. Okay, Anton Chekhov's The Bet employs several literary devices to enhance its themes only, to enhance, to beautify the theme that is dealt with in this story, and to convey the story's moral. So there is a beautiful moral in this story. Pursuing wealth, pursuing power is just meaningless. Only gaining knowledge, attaining knowledge is very, very important. Okay, right. So that moral you have learned just now, and to enhance its theme and also its moral, several literary devices are employed in this story. Right. And you pay attention. Here are given some literary devices used. What are they? Irony is there. This is a very important device, literary device used in this story. Every time candidates are asking for the definition of literary devices and all that, and therefore I have decided to give only in this video the definition of all these literary devices. So here, what is irony? Irony involves a contrast difference between expectations and reality. Okay, expectation, you expect something but something otherwise happens. Okay, right. And often highlighting the difference between what is said and what is meant. You say something and something will happen, so that is called irony. And here you pay attention. Situational irony is there in this. The story is rich in situational irony. The banker initially believes that the liar would not be able to endure 15 years of confinement. So that was the belief of this banker. Initial belief is that he thought that the liar would not complete his 15 years of solitary confinement under any circumstances. He thought in that way. Therefore, what did he do? He bet with the liar confidently. But now what happened? Ironically, the liar not only endures, but ironically what happened? The liar not only endures that 15 years of solitary confinement, but also transcends his confinement, goes beyond his confinement. Is ready to live even for 20 years also in that confinement. That was the endurance of that lawyer. Okay, ultimately rejecting the money that the banker thought was of utmost importance. So the banker offered him 2 million rubles as the betting amount. But here this lawyer rejected that amount also. That's an irony. So for 15 years, he lived in that solitary confinement. At last, what did he do? He rejected that betting amount. Okay, right. That is irony. So the banker who once had wealth and power is left morally and financially bankrupt. So this is the very important part. Because this banker thought the lawyer would not finish his 15 years of solitary confinement, and he would definitely lose the bet. But what happened? To his great astonishment, the lawyer could complete that term, that period in that solitary confinement. And therefore, this banker is said to be morally and financially bankrupt. Maybe he has money and power and all that, but he has become morally he has become moral and financially bankrupt. He has lost the bet. Of course, the lawyer has not taken money from him. That's a different matter. But morally, he has failed in his betting. He has lost his bet. That means, he has become, morally and financially bankrupt. That's the meaning, right? And you go to the next one. Dramatic irony is there. Dramatic irony means, just before the actual character knows what actually is going to happen, if the reader knows, that is called a dramatic irony. See here, the reader knows more about the lawyer's decision to renounce the money. So the reader knows that the lawyer is going to renounce the money than the banker does. Banker does not know, but only the reader knows well beforehand, which adds a layer of suspense. So suspense for the banker but not for the reader, because the reader already knows that this lawyer is going to give up the bet. And that's why what did you do? When the banker decides to kill the lawyer to avoid paying. Therefore, this banker, not knowing that this lawyer is going to give up his bet, has a plan to kill that lawyer. So this is an irony. Okay, situational irony, dramatic irony, you can find. Okay, you move on to the next literary device. Symbolism is there. What is this symbolism? Symbolism involves using objects, characters, events to represent larger and more abstract ideas. So through these things, the writer wants to convey larger and more abstract ideas. Okay, right. And here the bet symbolizes human greed. You are betting means you are greedy. You are greedy for money. Isn't it? If you are not greedy, why do you go for betting? Cricket betting and other bettings are also there. I don't know, I can't remember. So bettings are there. Okay. This bet symbolizes human greed and the materialistic values. Okay, and drive people to extreme actions. Because of this human greed, what is it doing? It is driving the people to extreme actions. Just for the sake of your greed, what are you doing? You are trying to do more than that. For that greed, this banker is ready, has become ready even to kill that lawyer. Greed for money. So here, extreme actions. It also serves as a catalyst for the lawyers and bankers' transformations. This greed also serves as a catalyst. Catalyst means agent. Okay. It also serves as an agent for the lawyers and bankers' transformations. Transformations mean changes. Okay. And during his confinement, the lawyer immerses himself in books which symbolize knowledge, wisdom, and the quest for deeper meaning in life. So during his confinement, what happened? The lawyer immerses himself in reading books voraciously on various subjects and topics. And this, these symbolize knowledge, wisdom, and quest for deeper meaning in life. So this is all. Reading books means books symbolize what? Knowledge, wisdom, quest for deeper meaning in life and all that. The lawyers shift from material desires to spiritual enlightenment. Earlier, this lawyer had material desires. Okay, that's why he has wagered with that banker. Okay, and he agreed to the wager of the banker. Okay, and otherwise, he would not have agreed to undergo solitary confinement for 15 years. So here, earlier this lawyer had given top priority to material desires. But after reading various books, what happened? He has attained spiritual enlightenment. And after attaining spiritual enlightenment, he rejected that prize money, the bet money, thinking it is all meaningless and useless and all that. Right. And you go to the next literary device. Foreshadowing is there. What is foreshadowing? Foreshadowing is a literary device in which a writer gives an advance hint. So giving an advance hint of what is to come later in the story is called foreshadowing. What is going to come later in the story is indicated to the reader well beforehand. That itself is called foreshadowing. Okay. And here, what is that foreshadow? Chekhov foreshadows the lawyer's ultimate rejection. Okay. Chekhov has given some hints here and there in that story about the lawyer's ultimate rejection of material wealth through his changing behavior and attitudes during his confinement. Because he has read various books, he has attained so much of knowledge, and in that way the writer has given the readers some kind of hint about the change of this lawyer. Okay, right. And his gradual disinterest in worldly pleasures and increasing focus on philosophical and spiritual text hint at his final decision to renounce. And his gradual disinterest in worldly pleasures. After reading various books and all that, he has grown very much disinterested in worldly riches and worldly pleasures. And here, and that indicates increasing focus on philosophical and spiritual text. So these three things, as disinterest in worldly pleasures and increasing focus on philosophical philosophical and spiritual texts, all these things hint that he is going to forfeit his bet and he is going to renounce the bet. These are all hints mentioned in the story. So on reading those hints, the readers would understand that the lawyer is going to renounce his bet and he is going to forfeit that amount, and all such things the readers will understand well beforehand. So that itself is called foreshadowing. Okay. The fourth one is conflict. Okay. What is this conflict? Conflict is a struggle or clash. Okay. What is a conflict? Conflict is nothing but a struggle or a clash. Okay. Between whom? Between opposing forces in the story, or it can occur between the characters, external conflict, and between the characters is called external conflict, or within a character's mind, that's called internal conflict. All these conflicts you know very well. So this is a beautiful literary device, and in every story there must be some kind of conflict, and that conflict will only make the story very interesting and entertaining and all that, and the readers keep reading that story because of that conflict. Okay, so in every story there must be some kind of conflict. So what kind of conflict is there in this story? Let us see that here. What is that? Internal conflict. What is that internal conflict? Internal means character's mind. The lawyer experiences internal conflict as he wrestles with the meaning of life, and here this lawyer wrestles with grapples with the meaning of life, the value of freedom, and the pursuit of knowledge. So with these three things, he wrestles or grapples with. He wants to find out the meaning of the life. He wants to find out the value of freedom. He wants to get the knowledge. Between these three, he gets some kind of clash in his mind, and here that conflict drives his transformation, change over the 15 years of time. And here go to the external conflict. What is the external conflict? The initial conflict between the banker and the lawyer sets the stage for the story. So external conflict is between the lawyer and the banker. Okay, the bet itself is a manifestation of their differing worldviews, materialism and versus idealism. So this bet itself tells us these two things: materialism, okay, worldliness, worldly feelings and all that. That is materialism. And idealism means what? So this is ideal feelings. Okay, between the material feelings and the ideal feelings, there is a clash between this banker and the lawyer. And the banker said that death penalty is preferable to life imprisonment. It's a material thinking that is called. But here this lawyer says life imprisonment is preferable to death penalty. చావడం కంటే బతికుండడమే జీవిత ఖైదైనా కానీ బతికుండడం మేలు అని చెప్పి ఇతడు అంటున్నాడు. సో దీస్ టూ థింగ్స్, దెర్ ఇస్ అ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్టర్నల్ కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్, అండ్ దట్స్ వై దేర్ హ్యాస్ టేకెన్ ప్లేస్ సమ్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ బెట్టింగ్ బిట్వీన్ దీస్ two persons. You know that very well, right? And now let's move on to other literary devices. Allusion is there. Allusion means what? Allusion is a literary device where the author makes an indirect reference to a person or an event or a place or a piece of art or literature or some history. So some writers, what they do, they make indirect references to persons, events, places and all those things. So that is called allusion. So what kind of allusion is there in this story? Let us see that Chekhov alludes to various philosophical, religious and literary texts through the lawyer's reading choices. So here, in order to make this lawyer very much changed or transformed, he keeps in that story, this philosophical books on philosophy, books on religion, books on literature. All kinds of books are kept in that room, okay, through the lawyer's reading choices. And here these allusions reflect the lawyer's intellectual and spiritual journey. So here philosophical books are there, religious books are there, literature books are there, and if you read all of them, what happens, you will definitely get some kind of transformation. So it is there and helps to underscore, emphasize the story's themes of knowledge and enlightenment, because he has gained a huge knowledge. To indicate this point, he has kept these three kinds of books. From these three kinds of books, one can definitely gain a lot of knowledge. Only to say that this lawyer has got a lot of knowledge, various kinds of knowledge, he has mentioned these three kinds of books. He has given the references of these three kinds of books: philosophical books, religious books and literature books and all that. Okay, you move on to other literary devices. Motif is there. What is this motif? It is yet another important literary device. Here, a motif is a recurring element in literary work. It's called recurring. Occurring again and again is called a recurring element. So this recurring element is called a motif. What is that recurring? Such as image, symbol, theme and idea. So generally some image will be recurring in a story. Some symbol, some theme, some idea. It will be occurring again and again. And what is occurring again and again in this story means? Let us see that here. The time. This is a recurring motif in the story. Every time, 15 years of time. That is a recurring motif, okay? And the passage of 15 years serves as a measure of both the lawyer's transformation and the futility of the death. So this time tells us that after spending that 15 years of time in the solitary confinement, you can find the lawyer's transformation. And he also realizes that the bet is just useless. It is futile. తాను మారడమే కాదు, ఈ బెట్టింగ్ అనేది ఎంత నిరర్ధకమైనదో, ఎంత అర్థం పర్థం లేనిదో he realizes. So that is there. So this 15 years of time or time, that is a recurring motif. Okay, all the story is about this time. All this story is about time. Okay, 15 years of time is put. If he completes this 15 years of time, the banker loses his money. If he cannot complete this period, what happens now? The lawyer loses his betting. So it's like that. So that's why now time plays a major role in this. Time also emphasizes the transient nature of human life. This time also tells us that the human nature is very transient. Okay, and his desires are also very transient. Transient means temporary. So this human life itself is transient. These human desires are also transient, just temporary. Okay, right. And you move on to the next literary device. Tone is there. What tone do you find in this? Let us see that. Tone refers to the author's attitude toward the subject, okay, or subject matter or the audience. So what is the tone the author or the writer adopts in writing that story? That is called tone. It helps establish mood of the story, okay, and it sets the mood of the story. You know that very well. And here you pay attention. The tone of the story is reflective. The tone of the story is reflective, means thoughtful. It makes one think about the life's goal, okay, the futility of betting and all that. So it's the tone of the story is reflective. It makes everybody think of the futility of the betting. Okay, and often shifts between pessimism and enlightenment. So here, the tone is will be shifting from pessimistic to enlightenment and all that. Pessimism to enlightenment. Okay, Chekhov uses a detached, almost clinical narrative style to emphasize the philosophical nature of the story, allowing readers to draw their own conclusions about the characters and the moral implications of their actions. So here, from this story, different people will take different moral implications. Okay, moral implications from the actions of the characters. See, banker, E stands for materialistic values, and this lawyer stands for idealistic values. So from these two kinds of values, the readers will take whatever they like from these two kinds of values. So that is the tone of the story, that's the tone. That's why the tone of the story is reflective, thoughtful and all that. And you move on to the next literary device. Narrative structure is there. What is the narrative structure? The narrative structure refers to the organized framework. Narrative structure itself means organized framework of the story. Sequence of events in a story, that's also called narrative structure. This thing should happen first, next this thing. So that screenplay direction like that, there's a narrative structure. Okay, right. The story begins and ends with the bankers reflecting on the past. Okay, the story begins with the banker reflecting on the past. The story ends with the bankers reflecting on the past, framing the main narrative as a recollection. Okay, this structure emphasizes the passage of time and the changes that have occurred in both characters. Over a period of time, both the characters have become changed. They realize that the betting is just useless and meaningless, and the materialistic values are just absurd and all that. Okay, they have become largely changed, and they have realized the truth of life, the meaning of life at the end. So this is the narrative structure, and with these things the literary devices will come to an end. And now I'm going to hold a small test for your comprehension. I'm going to give you as many as 25 bits on both on the story and on the writer. You please try to answer all the questions. If you cannot answer the questions, you can just go to the last slide and there you can find the answers. Okay, now let's move on to do the exercise. Multiple choice questions on the bet and the writer. What is that? Just I read the question and also the options, okay, for your convenience, and you have to answer all of them correctly. Okay, when was Anton Chekhov born? Okay, very simple. 1858, 1860, 1862, 1870. So here this question is easy, but in the examination it's a very difficult question, right? And you know very well, where was Anton Chekhov born? Where was he born? Moscow, St. Petersburg, Taganrog, okay, Kiev. Okay, you move on to other questions. What was Chekhov's profession before he became a full-time writer? Lawyer, teacher, doctor, journalist. Of course, I have not mentioned it. Okay, even then you try your best. Okay, right. Which of the following is not a play written by Chekhov? The Cherry Orchard, Uncle Vanya, The Seagull, Anna Karina. Chekhov's writing style is best known for which of the following characteristics? Elaborate descriptions, stream of consciousness, subtlety and naturalism, fantasy and surrealism. Sixth question. Which of the following short stories was written by Chekhov? The Lottery, The Tell-Tale Heart, The Lady with the Dog, The Necklace. Right. In which city did Chekhov primarily work as a medical doctor? Moscow, St. Petersburg, Taganrog, Kiev. In which year did Anton Chekhov die? 1902, 1904, 1906, 1908. What is the central wager in the bet? Whether the banker can win a poker game, whether the lawyer can survive 15 years of solitary confinement, whether the banker can make 1,000,000 rubles in a year, whether the lawyer can write a successful novel. You know the right one. What is the amount of money at stake in the bet? 1,000,000 rubles, 2,000,000 rubles, 5,000,000 rubles, 10,000,000 rubles. How does the lawyer spend his time during the 15 years of confinement? Playing games, reading and studying, exercising, writing letters to the banker. What does the lawyer ultimately decide about the money at the end of the confinement? He demands it immediately, he spends it on charity, he forfeits it and renounces it, he tries to negotiate for more time. What motivates the banker to consider killing the lawyer? Fear of the lawyer escaping, anxiety about losing the bet, jealousy of the lawyer's knowledge, desire for revenge. In which location is the lawyer confined during the bet? A remote island, a small lodge on the banker's estate, a prison cell, a hidden room in the city. 15th question. What is the banker's initial reaction to the lawyer's decision to accept the bet? He is indifferent, he is enthusiastic, he is skeptical and dismissive, he is supportive. How does the banker feel as the end of the 15 years approaches? Confident and relaxed, anxious and regretful, elated and hopeful, indifferent and detached. You know that very well. What does the lawyer's decision to forfeit the money reveal about his character? He is greedy and manipulative. He has gained a new perspective on life. He is desperate and unstable. He is indifferent to wealth. 18th question. How does the banker's view of the bet change over time? He becomes more convinced of its fairness. He becomes increasingly anxious about losing the money. He loses interest in the outcome. He believes the lawyer will escape. 19th one. What genre best describes the bet? Science fiction, fantasy, psychological drama, romance. Which of the following is a major theme in the bet? The pursuit of power, the value of life and freedom, the importance of wealth, the conflict between love and duty. 21st question. What does the banker's decision to sneak into the lawyer's confinement reveal about his character? His cunning nature, his desperation and fear, his indifference to the outcome, his respect for the lawyer. What is the lawyer's ultimate reaction to his years of confinement? He feels victorious. He is disillusioned and rejects material wealth. He feels bitter and angry. He plans to use the money for revenge. 23rd one. What literary device is prominently used in the bet to convey the psychological changes in the character? Symbolism, irony, metaphor, foreshadowing. How does the banker's financial situation affect his view of the bet over time? It becomes more relaxed, it becomes more stressful and desperate, it remains unchanged, it becomes more optimistic. Now you go to the last question. Which aspect of Chekhov's writing style is evident in the bet? Detailed descriptions of setting, complex plot twist, subtle and naturalistic portrayal of characters, romantic and idealized themes. Okay, with this, the exercise comes to an end, and if you cannot answer any of these questions, you just go to the last slide and you can find there the answers to all these 25 bits. Okay, answers 1 to 12. So for the questions from 1 to 12, answers are given here. From 13 to 25, these are the answers for 13 to 25 bits. Okay, and with this video comes to an end. Hello dear DSC candidates, thank you so much for watching this beautiful video, and if you have any problem in understanding any of the points, please mention it in the comment section, and with this, the stories section is almost over, and with the other videos I'll be back to you. Until then, bye, see you all of you. Right.